Imagine a city where people measured the size of the Earth before most of the world knew what the Earth was. A city where scholars debated the motion of the planets, experimented with steam power, and stored more knowledge than anywhere else in human history. This city was not Rome. It was not Athens. And it was not meant to exist at all. It was built by a conqueror who stayed only days, ruled by foreign kings pretending to be pharaohs, and destroyed not by invasion, but by family rivalry, politics, and time itself. How did the greatest center of knowledge the world had ever seen rise so fast and fall so completely? This is the story of Alexandria and the dynasty that built a city smarter than its own future. The story of human civilization can, in many respects, be told through the rise of its greatest cities. From the earliest days of organized society, urban centers have acted as engines of power, culture, and memory. In ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt, cities such as Ur and Memphis dominated their worlds. In Greece, Athens emerged as a beacon of thought and governance. Rome grew from a single city into a force that subjugated nearly the entire known world. Later, Constantinople rose at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, so renowned that even distant Scandinavians called it Miklagard, the Great City. This pattern continued into modern times. London, New York, Moscow, and Beijing have all stood at the heart of global power in their respective eras. Yet among these famous capitals, one city is often underestimated, despite its extraordinary historical importance. That city is Alexandria, the capital of Ptolemaic Egypt. In 331 BC, during his astonishingly rapid campaign against the Persian Empire, Alexander the Great ordered the creation of a new city on the western edge of the Nile Delta, where the river meets the Mediterranean Sea. After Alexander's death, one of his closest generals, Ptolemy, would establish his court there and rule Egypt. Over the next century, Alexandria would grow into the greatest city on Earth. Scholars from across the Mediterranean traveled there, drawn by what would become the most famous library in history. Mathematicians and geographers working in the city calculated the size of the Earth with remarkable accuracy. Inventors experimented with steam power. One bold thinker even proposed that the Earth revolved around the sun rather than the reverse. Every day, ships crowded Alexandria's harbors, turning it into the most populous city and the most important commercial hub of the Eastern Mediterranean. None of this would have been possible without the dynasty founded by Ptolemy, which ruled Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. This is the story of the Ptolemaic Dynasty. By the time Alexander arrived in Egypt, the civilization's ancient glory already lay far in the past. In the 19th century, when European scholars became fascinated with Egyptology, Baron Christian Charles von Bunsen proposed that ancient Egypt experienced 3 great golden ages: the Old Kingdom, the Middle Kingdom, and the New Kingdom. The Old Kingdom, lasting roughly from 2700 to 2200 BC, was already ancient history, even by Ptolemy's time. This was the age of the pyramids and the Great Sphinx at Gaza. The Middle Kingdom followed as the 3rd millennium BC gave way to the 2nd. The New Kingdom, however, stood as Egypt's most expansive and powerful era. Its rulers constructed enormous temples, towering statues, and massive obelisks, and extended Egypt's influence deep into Nubia, west into Libya, and north into the Levant. Eventually, this power faded. In the 12th and 11th centuries BC, Egypt faced invasions from mysterious seafaring raiders known as the Sea Peoples. Although Egypt survived, it was weakened. What followed was a prolonged period of instability, known as the Third Intermediate Period, marked by fractured authority and rival rulers. Centralized kingship collapsed. Egypt splintered into competing regions, with different dynasties ruling Upper and Lower Egypt. While some rulers briefly reunited the land, disorder was the norm. The 25th dynasty, which ruled from 744 to 656 BC, restored some stability, but it was foreign in origin, emerging from Nubia in modern Sudan. After this dynasty fell, Egypt was conquered by the Assyrian Empire, briefly regained independence, and then fell under Persian rule around 525 BC. For 2 centuries, Egypt remained largely a Persian possession. The Persian Empire soon clashed with the Greek world. Though Persia failed to conquer Greece, it gradually weakened. By the 4th century BC, Greek forces were probing deeper into Persian territory. If Greece could unite, Persia's dominance over lands like Egypt would be threatened. That unity arrived from an unexpected source: Macedon. Under King Philip II, most of Greece was brought under Macedonian control. His son, Alexander III, launched an invasion of the Persian Empire in 334 BC and achieved stunning success. By 332 BC, he entered Egypt, where he founded Alexandria, before marching east again. By the time of his death in 323 BC, Alexander ruled an empire stretching from Greece to India. Alexander's sudden death created a vacuum. His son, Alexander IV, was born after his death and could not rule. His generals initially governed as caretakers, but this pretense collapsed when Alexander IV was murdered in 309 BC. What followed were decades of conflict, known as the Wars of the Diadochi, as Alexander's former companions fought for supremacy. One of those companions, Ptolemy, secured control of Egypt early on. He intercepted Alexander's body and brought it to Egypt, first to Memphis and later to Alexandria, where it became a site of pilgrimage. Meanwhile, Ptolemy consolidated power, controlling Egypt, Cyrenaica, Cyprus, and parts of the Levant. In 305 BC, Ptolemy declared himself king, becoming Ptolemy I Soter. Though Macedonian by birth, he skillfully legitimized his rule by blending Greek and Egyptian traditions. He portrayed himself as a pharaoh, adopted Egyptian religious imagery, and commissioned inscriptions written in hieroglyphs. This dual identity defined Ptolemaic rule. Greek and Egyptian cultures merged. Bilingualism became common, and religious syncretism flourished. The Rosetta Stone, inscribed in Greek and 2 forms of Egyptian, stands as the clearest symbol of this fusion. Ptolemy I ruled for 4 decades, living into his 80s. His longevity allowed him to secure Egypt against rivals. His son, Ptolemy II Philadelphus, inherited a stable kingdom and expanded its power. Though notorious for marrying his sister and eliminating rivals, Ptolemy II presided over relentless warfare and remarkable cultural growth. During his reign, Alexandria's greatest monuments took shape. The Library of Alexandria expanded into an immense scholarly complex, employing scribes, scholars, and librarians who gathered texts from across the known world. By the mid-3rd century BC, its catalog alone filled over 100 scrolls. Alexandria became the world's leading center of science. Figures such as Eratosthenes calculated Earth's circumference. Physicians like Herophilus pioneered anatomical study. Engineers experimented with mechanical devices. Literature flourished, while Athens retained dominance in philosophy. Trade also surged. Egypt's position between the Mediterranean and the Red Sea allowed access to the Indian Ocean. Under Ptolemaic rule, ports like Berenice and Myos Hormos connected Egypt to Arabia and India. Spices, gemstones, silk, and incense flowed westward. Ptolemy III expanded Egypt's territory further, building temples like the Serapeum and pushing control deep into the Levant. Yet after his death in 222 BC, decline set in. Weak rulers, court intrigue, rebellion, and family conflict plagued the dynasty. By the 2nd century BC, Rome emerged as a new power. As the Ptolemies weakened, Roman interference increased. Egypt gradually became a client state. Internal strife worsened, marked by assassinations, incestuous marriages, and overlapping reigns. The dynasty's final chapter centered on Cleopatra VII. Allied first with Julius Caesar and later with Mark Antony, she gambled Egypt's future on Roman politics. After Antony's defeat by Octavian at Actium in 31 BC, both Antony and Cleopatra took their own lives. In 30 BC, Egypt became a Roman province. Though the dynasty fell, Alexandria endured. Under Roman rule, it remained a center of learning for centuries. Scholars such as Ptolemy, Hypatia, and others continued its legacy. Only in late antiquity did religious conflict finally extinguish the remnants of the great library. The Ptolemaic Dynasty transformed Egypt in ways no one could have predicted. From conquest and chaos emerged a city that reshaped human knowledge. Alexandria's legacy stands not just in stone and ruins, but in the foundations of science itself. Imagine a city where people measured the size of the Earth before most of the world knew what the Earth was. A city where scholars debated the motion of the planets, experimented with steam power, and stored more knowledge than anywhere else in human history. This city was not Rome. It was not Athens. And it was not meant to exist at all. It was built by a conqueror who stayed only days, ruled by foreign kings pretending to be pharaohs, and destroyed not by invasion, but by family rivalry, politics, and time itself. How did the greatest center of knowledge the world had ever seen rise so fast and fall so completely? This is the story of Alexandria, and the dynasty that built a city smarter than its own future.